Hey YouTube, Sam here. Well, it's time to work on the 01 Ford Explorer again. The last video I did probably had something to do with the coil pack that I replaced. There's a whole story behind that, which I might try and put at the end of that video actually. I haven't done that yet, and it hasn't been put up, so that's probably where you'll have to go see the whole story behind it. Also, if you want to see other videos on this, I got several videos on brakes all the way around, shocks all the way around, door lock stuff, all kinds of stuff on this rig here. So if you want to see more of it, go check out my playlist and look for the 01 Ford Explorer one in my playlist. But today, the alternator, I've tested it, which I have other videos on testing to see if your alternator is charging well enough or not. This one doesn't seem to be. It's supposed to charge between 14 and 15. And it's like 13.4 or so it's sort of charging but not enough, so therefore I'm having trouble with the battery dying if I let it set for any time at all. So I got one of two problems, and probably two problems, because I know the alternator is not charging the way it should, and I kind of think there's a drain somewhere on this battery for when I leave it setting too long, the battery just dies, because the battery seems to be okay in it. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and replace the alternator in this video. Here we are towards the passenger side. You got your air inlet stuff here, and I'm going to go ahead and remove it because the alternator is right back here, and it's, I believe, fairly easy to remove. Well, first of all, unhook your battery. I already did that. So pulled that hose off, that hose off. There's also a little wiring harness thing that goes to this that hooks into that as well. The same one I undid the battery with seems to work for this, so I believe it's an 8mm, or you can just use a screwdriver. Set that to the side, and you got your alternator. Looking down at the belt tensioner right here. Here's the alternator right here, but we got to take the belt off first here. So I got a pretty long ratchet hooked to the tensioner here. I hope it was hooked there, and I think I got. Oh no, I got it. All right, and I'm putting a bar on the end of it just because it's a little bit short as it is, and I think this is the direction I need to go. Yep. There we go. Watch you don't get fingers in between the belt and the pulleys. If it slips, it hurts. And I'm just going to pull off of the alternator and leave that all kind of sitting there if I can, if it'll stay out of the way. Nope, I won't. So I'm going to hook this belt just kind of around the pulley for now. Deal with that later. I got the belt off of there now, so I can just deal with the alternator for now, and I don't need to take the belt all the way off. I'm going to move this up out of the way. This is kind of a hard plastic piece. Careful, these will break. I broke this on one of my other cars. But anyhow, looks like the wire coming from the starter, I believe, is right here under this boot. Got to get the boot off of here. And then there's a plug back here that should, all intents and purposes, just have a clip on it. It'll clip off, but yet again, these are usually more of a pain in the butt. A little screwdriver here, so I can reach down in here and hopefully get this clip, because it's not wanting to do it by finger. There we go. Pull that aside. Yet again, I got the wire or the battery unhooked here, so you would want to definitely be doing that with the battery hooked up. Pull that off, and that appears to be probably a 10mm. I doubt it's an 8. Appears to be a 10mm. Pull that to the side, and that's hooked to this bracket here, which should come off with this top. Hopefully you can see this. We got one bolt here and 2 bolts here. This actually looks like a nut, and then 2 bolts, and they are 13 millimeter. I'm gonna have to get a swivel for that one. So I had to get a smaller socket that's 13 millimeter to fit down in here, so I didn't push on these heater hoses and radiator hose so much. Boy, that's in there. For all intents and purposes, that should pop right out. That was very simple. Looks like there was some sort of a wiring harness that was on here at one point, but it's been taken off. So we got it out. Well, we got it sitting here on the bench now, and I've been looking around, and these are $60 and up to even find one on the cheapest one on Amazon. I actually have not looked around at part stores around here yet. I have yet to do that, but I did notice that in some of the things I could get, if you go back here, I believe there is a replacement brush kit. So I'm going to pull this apart and see if I can't do a rebuild on this, or put a new brush kit in it, or see if there's something I can fix, because I'm tired of buying way overpriced parts that don't last near as long as the originals, and especially since the originals aren't even lasting very long these days. So we're going to go ahead and the first thing I'm going to do is bust in the back end back here. I think these are probably the 8 millimeter. Yep. So let's see if we can do this easily enough. And there just appears to be 3 8 millimeters holding this cover on. Those appear to be all the same size, and that pulls this cover off here. It actually says Motorcraft on it, so this is an actual Ford piece here. Alright. And this is where the brushes are here, so I'm assuming it's this whole module right here. Now, I know I can buy a whole rebuild kits for this for the newer models, but for some reason I couldn't find one for this year. The brushes don't look that horrible, but this piece in here kind of doesn't look so great. So I'm going to go and see if I can find, both check and see what a price is for one of these at all the different part stores, to see if they're even close, or maybe a better price I can find somewhere. Couldn't find one used, unfortunately, because of that stupid Cars for Clunkers thing, most ridiculous thing that the government ever did as far as cars are concerned. But because of that, you're buying overpriced parts when it comes to these, you know, 90s and early 2000s models, it seems like. I don't know, but I'm going to try and do something that's cheaper than 60 or 100 bucks. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. It's a T20. There's the brushes there. They don't appear to be all that worn out, but you never know, maybe whatever this thing is isn't doing its job right. Could be that these are worn. Don't know if there's a way to replace these. The bearings don't seem like there's any play in them. Definitely dirty. Oh, that's pretty. That's really warm right here. I don't know why that's not turning the way it should. I'm going to see if I can find out about replacing this piece here. Well, YouTube, I bit the bullet and went ahead and just got a new alternator. I could have got a rebuild kit for this. I think it's from a place called G4, but it was like almost 60 bucks, and I'd have to pull it apart, and if I messed anything up, then, you know, if anything else breaks or something else happens, I just didn't want to deal with that for right now. I may do that another day if the need arises, but right now I just need to get something on the road. Both my truck and this thing aren't running, and my other 2 cars are having issues as well, so I just need to get something that will go hopefully on the road, and I'm hoping this solves all my problems. Whether or not it will, who knows. But this appears to be pretty darn close to the same thing. It was 80 bucks, $79.95 through Amazon. Cheapest one I could find, kind of thing. Everything looks pretty darn similar as far as that's concerned. Plug in 3. It looks very similar. So in fact, I could probably take the Motorcraft piece off of here and actually make it look like it's a genuine Motorcraft piece if I really wanted to take the time and effort to do so, which I don't. So we're going to go ahead and just slap this thing in. Putting it in is the same as taking it out. Put the 3 bolts in, hook all the wires up, make sure your belts are all tight right and where they need to be, and hoses.
So I put it in, got it running, and I went ahead and put some dielectric grease in all the areas where voltage will be moving. So you can choose to do that or not, that's up to you, but I've checked it now, and we are at 14.5 volts, 14.4 something, 14.3, depends on what it's doing right now. So we are over 14 volts, which is good, because we were down at 13 point something, and we want to be at between 14 and 15 volts. So alternator's working good. I'm happy. Hopefully that charges up the battery to where it will quit dying. I do have my suspicions on whether or not that is the problem. If you have any questions or comments or anything about this as far as putting it in, go ahead and leave them below. I'll try and answer anything you got. Please rate and comment and subscribe. I appreciate it. Alright, this is Sam, Jack of all, Master of none. You all have a good one.